Susan Graham, I'm the Director of National Partner Development with Fusion. Very excited to be here. We've had tons of stuff going on the last couple of months, so this will be a good training for you to sit through. Just to introduce the team and who's here today, Steve Sigmund, he's the Director of Sales Engineering. And then we've also got Mike Sullivan, which many of you know. He is the Director of the Channel Salespeople. And joining us also is Christina and Celine from the Channel Sales departments. And then we've got Michael Fair. He's the Senior VP of Channel and Alliances. So he is new to the company. Just joined 3 weeks in.
3 weeks ago.
Yep, so excited to have him. So he's going to have a few words before we start the presentation, just to give you a little bit of a overview of what's going on with Fusion right now. So, Michael?
Thank you. All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. So this is my third week at Fusion. Michael Fair. I'm the channel chief for Fusion. And this is, again, my third week, and when I heard that TCG was sponsoring this event, I wanted to be part of it. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and TCG has been an excellent partner for actually all three of the companies. We're pulling together Birch, Fusion, and Megapath. We just closed on the Megapath opportunity just about 2-3 weeks ago. And Fusion, we're really fusing these companies together. Really, what I'm doing is I've been brought in to really kind of create a best-of-breed program to help integrate the multiple channels and take best of breed from each of the companies, right? And TCG's been a great partner for us. I'm glad I can be here as part of this event and help kick this off. So just a tremendous opportunity to work with each of you going forward. You probably have had some experience with one of the three companies or more of the three companies, but it's truly going to be a very dominant provider of cloud services, right? So we're really looking to be that single source of the cloud for you, right? To help with the bandwidth side, security, local management of Wi-Fi infrastructure, the UCaaS, and starting to move into the CPaaS world and things like that. So Steve will come up and give you a lot more of the details. I'll be around for the next couple of hours and personally forward to meeting a lot of you. So thank you.
There is a lot of exciting things going on at Fusion, and I want to take you through just some of them. For one thing, like Michael just said, we're looking to be really your one-stop solution provider for cloud services. A little bit of history about the company now. It was established back in 1997. And so we have a long history as a telecom services provider and have grown with the industry as things have evolved. Obviously, single source, innovative solutions, right? But now into the security world. We just launched another product, which we'll talk to you a little bit about at another time, which is PCI as a service, right? So together with a 24/7, 365 US-based support team, we think it's one of the best in the industry. In the cloud world, there is some complexities of bringing multiple services together, right? So starting with bandwidth, of course, we still do the POTS lines that you were familiar with from the Birch acquisition. And there's just some complexity that partners such as yourself face. You have to go to multiple different carriers, multiple different service providers, solution providers, and that's what we're trying to solve here, right? So with a fully integrated solution that involves the cloud, connectivity, compute, you name it, into a single platform, you can deliver greater efficiency and actually a lower cost for your end users, right? And it also avoids finger pointing, right? You have just one place to come and one single contact for the customer, right? So the solution catalog obviously is very wide, and we're not going to be able to get to all of it today, but some of the things we want to touch on is here, the solutions catalog, the POTS, the network connectivity, MPLS, SD-WAN we'll touch on today. Fusion 360 is our flagship voice over IP platform. We do have a couple different flavors of voice over IP hosted PBX. but we're going to touch on the Fusion 360 today. Contact 360, of course, I believe we have one of the best SIP platforms, and we'll talk about that today as well as Microsoft 365. So from a voice services standpoint, you all know, are familiar with the Birch acquisition, and Birch was one of the best POTS integrator in the industry, so nothing changes there. With all of these acquisitions and integrations, we want to maintain more continuity than there is change, right? So with the Birch acquisition, the POTS offering is going to stay the same. Zero junk fees that you're used to. We include all of the fees, such as the FCC and the PICs and the LPICs, into the price. $1.86 access recovery fee, which you're all familiar with, right? And then the taxes. It's very, very easy to get a quote out. It's very fast to get a quote out, and you usually end up saving your customers big money. So it's a very easy and fast transition. It also installs very quickly. Most of the time, there's not even a truck roll needed, right? It's just a paper change, a signature and a paper change, right? So that's POTS. From a SIP trunking standpoint, we have, I believe, one of the most robust SIP trunking platforms in the market today. You can go to our website, our public website, and see all of the different PBXs that we interop with. There are over 50 different manufacturers and well over 300 different platforms that we are certified and interoped with. In addition to that, we can deliver an IAD to terminate with a traditional PRI. So in a couple different signaling methods there. So we're pretty flexible there. And in addition to that, we can deliver analog lines using an IAD or a Mediatrix or a Grandstream ATA. So if you're looking for POTS transitions, coming off of POTS, but you still need an analog line, we can address that there as well. Some of the add-on services with the SIP trunking, obviously business continuity, which is a big one, right? We have multiple different ways to deliver business continuity or failover. It can be trunk to trunk, SIP trunk to SIP trunk, having two SIP trunks stood up at the same time and fail between. It can be simple IP failover. It can be obviously call forwarding, the multiple different flavors of call forwarding, no answer, not ready, not reachable. Individual DID failover, we can do that as well. So if you are looking for an enterprise SIP trunking solution, get with Christina back there, and she can engage some sales engineering, and we can design a SIP trunking solution that is very, very robust. One other thing, and this is kind of a differentiator, there's only a few providers out there that will actually do this. SIP call bursting, okay? So if you have a SIP trunk with 25 call paths, we allow you to burst up to 2 times the concurrent call, right? So if you have a 25 call path SIP trunk, we will allow you to burst up to 50 call paths on a second SIP trunk and bill you a metered usage, okay? So and you can share the call paths among multiple locations, okay? So a lot of flexibility in the SIP trunking platform. So if you want to know more about that, again, talk to Christina and she can engage some sales engineering. We'd love to have that conversation with you. From a pricing structure on the SIP trunks, our lowest on a 36-month is $4.95. And then all the way up to a fully loaded with LD and local calling on a month-to-month plan is $24.95. And all in between, right? So Fusion Cloud Services. So let's talk about SD-WAN. So why did we put SD-WAN in the cloud services, right? So of course, we do all of the connectivity options, right? Fiber, DSL, T1s, coax, and from a network connectivity standpoint. SD-WAN, as you all know, is the network becoming a cloud service, right? So we have a couple different, and this is actually a little bit of a dated slide, so I'll talk to you a little bit about the VeloCloud platform, but we have two different SD-WAN offerings. With the acquisition of Megapath, we now have two different SD-WAN models. We call it SD-WAN Pro and SD-WAN Enterprise. Okay, SD-WAN Pro is a Meraki platform-based product, okay? And everything that you're used to with a Meraki, we do the MRs, the MXs, the MSs, all the different hardware flavors that you would want. And obviously that's a technology conversation that you have to have with a sales engineer, and we can spec that out. So that's SD-WAN Pro. SD-WAN Enterprise is a VeloCloud platform that we have built out using our own cloud gateways on our own network with our own cloud connectivity, okay? So this is not the VeloCloud Premium as a service that they offer, right? This is our own network built out, and we have 7 different cloud gateways around the country, the U.S., and we have multiple different POPs where we can connect into Azure, AWS, and different Rackspace, different cloud providers such as that. So we fully manage this, okay? So we actually do 2 different flavors of this. One, we can actually turn the keys over to the customer and let them manage the VeloCloud platform. As you all know, with the Cloud Orchestrator, it's pretty easy network management, right? But if you're dealing with a customer that needs that fully managed service, we can do that as well. Pricing is calculated, let me point out one bullet here. The pricing is calculated based on the traffic that you put into the overlay network. So what does that mean? Any traffic that you want treated by the SD-WAN, okay? Are you familiar with VeloCloud pricing? Have you priced out VeloCloud before? Okay. It is bandwidth based, okay? So based on the bandwidth you're going to use, that's where you get the different hardware models and the different price points, okay? We will price it out based on the network traffic that you're going to get treated by the SD-WAN, okay? So you don't have to count up all the bandwidth, right, for all the circuits. It's just the treated bandwidth. So we can have a deeper conversation about that at a future time if you have a deal that you want to discuss. SD-WAN pricing. Here's the bandwidth pricing, right? So I was talking about. So 30, 50, 100, 200, those are the tiers up to 1 gig. And again, the way you price this out, and we can share this, you'll have this presentation as well. So this is a real easy to understand pricing matrix. You take all the bandwidth that you are going to put into the VeloCloud network and add it all up, and that's your price. Pretty straightforward and simple. All right, so I said we were going to talk about our Fusion 360, which is our flagship hosted PBX. It is a proprietary switching platform, and has all the features you would expect out of a hosted PBX, right? So the seat choices here, this is where we break it down. So the common area seat is just that, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Lobby phones, reception phones, kitchen phones. Typically we have long distance restricted on this. You can do video calling if you have something, a need for a common area that has video enabled, such as maybe a door where you want to see the person at the door. But most basic seat here, okay? The next seat up from that is the employee seat. And it comes with the unified messaging features, okay? So voicemail to email, find me, follow me, things of that nature, okay? Instant conferencing, things of that. The next seat, the employee preferred seat, and this is a new seat that we created. It is very similar to the employee seat, but it also includes a Polycom phone. And we'll talk about the price point here in just a minute. It includes local and LD usage, and it's a 3-year price on that. So we'll talk about that one here in just a minute, put that one as a note, and we'll see that in just a minute. The next seat up from that is the full collab seat, right? This is the fully featured UC seat, instant messaging, intercompany conferencing for video, desktop sharing with guest links, conference calls, things of that nature. I'm sure everyone in this room is familiar with that type of a seat, right? It's the fully functional UC seat. So here's the pricing structure. So we have a couple different ways. Actually, let me talk about that first. We have a couple different ways to price this out, and one of the differentiators that Fusion will do is we allow you to oversubscribe a PBX, much in the way that you would have done years ago with a on-prem PBX, right? So say you have 300 employees, well, you don't necessarily need 300 call paths, right? As we all know, you would put a couple PRIs in there, and you have about 50 channels, 48 channels of call paths for 300 employees. So we will do that on this hosted platform. You can share the call paths between locations, okay? So if you have 300 seats and you only need about 50 call paths, you can really get some pricing advantages out of doing that. For instance, a seat, an employee seat down here, the concurrent call paths at the bottom, and I know you can't see this, it's a little bit of an eye chart, right? So you'll get this in the recording, and I'm sure we'll share the presentation as well. But for a common area seat, the call path is $2.95. And then you would add to that just a phone, which is $4.95, right? So you can actually, and then of course those call paths can be shared across the locations, right? So when you start thinking about building out a fully hosted PBX for a multi-location site, call us and we can take you through that pricing structure, because it's a little bit different than some of the other providers. A lot of pricing advantages doing that. Let me touch on the preferred seat. This is a very popular one. That's the one that's circled, right? It's an employed collab seat. It's fully loaded with long distance and local, and has its own call path. It's $24.95. So if you have a 3 or 4 seat customer and they need all the call paths and they need a phone, that's the way to go. It's pretty cheap. It's a bundled pricing there. Yes. Correct. Yes. Correct. Say that again? Yes, there is an app. I'm sorry, I didn't touch on that. So there is a mobile. Mobile Connect is our cell phone app and desktop and cell phone. Instant messaging, presence, all of that stuff comes in there as well.
What seat does that come in?
That's the employee collab. Yep.
The others don't get the app.
Correct. The employee seat does not get the app. Correct.
Could they do it as an add-on?
You can do it as an add-on. I don't know the answer off the top of my head on that.
Which one of the seat types is it included?
Collab. Yes, correct. Employee collab. Yeah.
So you were saying basically like a PRI infrastructure, go to a hospital, they got 600 phones, but they basically only need 48 to 60 callbacks. You're going to charge them like $5, $6? What was the?
So on an employee seat, it is $4.95 on a 3-year term.
Plus a phone, you said something about a phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically $10.
Actually, the phone pricing's not on here. I can show you the phone pricing at another time, but we can do that. But yes, that's the model. That is the model.
For the ones that have the ability to call out, those 50 are at full price of 25 or whatever.
Correct.
Or do they go higher because they have, maybe they're $30 a seat because you're giving the phones at $10? So 50 of them would be 30 or something? I don't know, I'm asking. How does it break down? It's just the 25 per, if they're gonna share call paths.
Correct.
50.
Right?
Those 50 are
The call paths or the phone?
The call path.
The call paths would be, let's see here, right there, $19.95, $34.95, and $49.95. Okay. So, and that's inbound with local and LD metered on an outbound standpoint. The second tier is includes local, but LD is metered. And then the third one is local and LD included.
So it's $50 a seat that gives them unlimited local call
Right.
and long distance in the nation, I would believe.
Right, for the $50 for the call path, right? So then the phone is,
The rest are $10, $12 a seat
or less,
or less.
correct.
What's the network compliance fee? Is that included? Is that on top? I see $1.95 at the bottom there.
So that's on top. It's very similar to the access recovery fee.
So it's $24.95 plus the.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
And the setup charges, that's not per device, right? If they sign a 1 or 2 year, that's per device.
So the setup charges is per device, correct. On the top up there, the bundle seat, that's per seat, and on the bottom there, under the call path, it's per call path. Obviously, on the 3-year term, there's none. Correct. We good? Okay. And we can certainly have deeper discussions, obviously, after this. Okay, so a little bit of a competitive comparison here. So when you're talking about companies, right, Fusion is really one of the only ones out there that offer a unified communications platform, enterprise contact center, which we have not talked about yet, cloud connectivity. So what do I mean by that? That's like network connectivity, cable, fiber, but also connectivity to cloud providers, Rackspace, AWS, Azure. And then cloud computing as well as infrastructure as a service. So we have all of that in our product portfolio, truly making us a one-stop shop, obviously. Now, let me talk a little bit about implementation, okay? So implementation from a Fusion perspective is a project managed installation, okay? Every install gets an implementation coordinator, is what we call them. It's a project manager, a single point of contact for your customer and for you, right? So you don't have to chase around orders around our organization, all right? So, and on top of that, we don't just ship things out and plug and pray. It is actually an implemented, it's not even a word, implemented with a professional back office, okay? We coordinate, conduct design review meetings, things such as, and it starts honestly with my organization, the sales engineering organization, where we sit down and really kind of scope out the needs of the customer. But even after the initial sale, things such as auto attendants and hunt groups, and if you have a call center, the call queues, things like QoS, if you're getting SD-WAN or MPLS, where the traffic's going to go, VPN strategies, firewalling strategies, call plans, 4-digit dial plans, things of that nature, 4 or 5-digit dial plans. Everything that we have a document, we call it the TAD. It's a technical assessment design, technical assessment design, and it is a very robust document, right? So depending on the services that you're going to get, there's multiple tabs. We take you through that. We will work with the customer contact, with you, whoever you want us to work with, if it's a technical resource or if it's a partner of yours. We'll scope the entire thing out prior to implementing it. Timelines, schedules, if you need a multi-location install, you know, they all can't go at once. We all know that, right? If you're doing a migration, things of that nature, you'll find that we're very easy to work with and very professional when you're working with us as well. All right, so we're coming towards the end here. So, single source solution, right? So everything that you can possibly think of, everything that you could possibly think of, from cloud infrastructure as a service to network to all the way down to the very basic needs of POTS. We're the one-stop shop for all of that, right? We have a fully secure network and an actual network footprint around the country, right? So we're not using resell capabilities, right? We have NNIs with these companies that we do use their services as last mile, but ultimately it ends up in our core network, our IP core network, and so we can actually treat the traffic and give you a better experience from a voice over IP standpoint or a network standpoint, right? And onshore support. That's another big differentiator for us, right? So you call us, we answer with a Fusion badged employee. It's not a outsourced help desk, and we strive for a one-call resolution. So we have a very technical support staff as well, so they can actually help you when you call them. Yep. Yep. Most of the time, they will be able to, if it's something such as, it depends on the issue, right? So if it's such as a password reset, okay, or I've have some dropped calls, something technical, something like that, right? Now, if it's something along the lines of I need to reroute traffic from, this VPN to that VPN, whatever, but they will do a soft transfer, right? A warm transfer over to that person and do that. Now, with the SD-WAN portals, that's becoming really more and more a thing of the past. From a SIP trunking standpoint, our portals, you can do that as well, online as well, right? So any of the failover options are available to you in the SIP trunking portal. T1's down, oh, yeah.
Goes down, that's going to be, I'm giving you information, that's going to be processed, and then an engineer is going to be working on it, or we're going to be on the call full time?
So, yeah, that's the first one, right? The engineer will be working on it, right, obviously. So to work with the last mile carrier to get the T1 back up. Now, here's the difference. Typically when you call in, there's already a ticket open with the carrier because we've already seen the T1 down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good. Are we back to Susan? Any more questions? Yes, sir.
So as far as connectivity, we spoke about PRIs and POS lines and stuff like that, but connectivity fiber and all that, that's coming from, at least down here, from Birch, Tyson Birch, as far as the fiber and all that, so price-wise.
So it's interesting, right? So we have three companies coming together now. We have Birch, Fusion, and Megapath. Megapath had a very robust NNI agreements with all the different major carriers, right? Birch had the same, some NNIs, but also had 31,000 route miles of fiber. They had many lit buildings, especially in South Florida. A lot of lit buildings. Really great agreements with XO was one of our better agreements, right? So, for instance, we could do like 100 megs for, and keep me honest, 350-ish, somewhere around there, of fiber. So getting it quoted out is really going to be the most important thing. But there's three networks coming together that are very quickly becoming interroutable, right? So it's truly becoming one network, and it's a real footprint now, right? So it's everything from cable, T1s, like you said. We have some agreements with DSL and coax, fiber. We own some fiber. We lease some dark fiber, and then of course we resell via NNI agreements as well. So all across the board. Yes, sir. We do not right now, but you can get with Christina and she can tell you. Yeah, we do have a list of lit buildings, but as far as like a quote structure, we quote everything through MasterStream. Correct, correct, yes. Yes, sir.
How would you approach, the situation where, again, Birch doesn't have the greatest reputation, at least down here. How would you approach a customer who, is not with Birch or had Birch and, got burned out, so to speak? What would you say?
So the first thing I would want to do is define what it was that they had an issue with, right? So, are you talking about service? Like,
It would be service and then the customer support or the lack thereof, I guess, out there.
so,
Key or whatever the case was.
so a lot of that has changed. And what I mean is Fusion actually had a very robust support team. And if you're around our offices, the faces have changed. Let me put it that way. We have a new outlook, a new support organization, almost from the top down. Does that make sense? I'm being very politically correct. There's a lot of there,
A lot of people got fired.
yeah. We stand behind our SLAs, and we can publish the SLAs as well, especially from a service standpoint. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have really no qualms about the support from Fusion now. So,
Most of us in here have been through corporate.
yes. It is what it is. Look, when three companies come together, right, we are obviously taking the best practices of each one and implementing those. It is no secret that some of the shortcomings of the support from Birch, so obviously leadership knew that, right? This is an opportunity to upgrade that in a major way. So, yep.
Regarding UCAS or hosted platform,
Yes, sir.
charging a setup fee, does that mean that there's installation that's included with that presumably, or what is?
So it is a professional install. Absolutely. Truck roll and everything. Absolutely.
Minimum amount of seats that you need to have for that, or?
No, actually. Not that I know of.
You're talking, that's on the install of hosted services?
Correct.
You don't just send the phones out to the customer location and say,
No longer. Correct. Correct. The plug and pray model. Okay, I'm going to hand it back to Susan now, so that you can take us through
2 seconds.
how to quote.
Won't take long.
Thanks, guys.
So I know he had a lot of information, and Dan looks like he's ready for me to get off stage. So are you ready to quote Fusion? So a couple of just follow-up questions. One, make sure we have your email addresses for our newsletter, our spotlight calls, and our spiffs that go out on a monthly basis that come from me and my team. The spotlight call that's next Thursday is actually about Fusion 360. So if you're really interested in seeing it, even a deeper dive on it and the portal, then be sure to sign up for that call, and we can make sure that everybody gets that email so they can go to it. If you don't have a Fusion channel manager, Christina's here, so be sure to introduce yourself. I know some of you might already work with somebody, so you can continue that or come over to Christina. She would love to take care of you. Get with your TCG rep and Christina, and let's start quoting. And probably the most important thing to y'all is spiffs. So we do an upfront spiff on all of our products. TCG does a great job and passes through 100% to you guys. So on 360, you get 3 times the MRC upfront. SIP is 3 times, and then Fusion Works, which is our other hosted platform, correct? I haven't learned about that.
Broad talk base. We didn't talk
There you go. We didn't talk about that one, but we do have another one available. And then you can still earn money on pots, $60 per line, as long as there's no special pricing or customer pricing on it or customer promos. And then a true pot sign, yep, and that's the rebilling over, no matter if it's 1 or 1,000, you're gonna get $60 per line.
How much is it for the, what's the cost?
Yes, on a 3-year term.
What's the price for the customer?
So on our lines, we do them by central office. So depending on where it's at, it can range from, $35 up to $45, $50, just depending. It's usually about 30 to 40% off of AT&T rates like that.
The difference between their line and like a line from other CLECs is that it includes all the telecom taxes.
Yep.
The ICSI, the Util, all the baloney is wrapped into one charge. It's like $39.95 is typical.
Yeah.
Right, Celine? I hit you probably like every other day with
We have the number and the address, we can get the pricing over to you pretty quickly. And then SD-WAN, I know this is very small, so I'm going to read it. So SD-WAN, we do 2 times up front, and then our fiber, coax, anything like that, it's 1 times up front, MRC. And then, of course, your residual that you get from TCG every month.